Welcome back. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to Talking on Edge. Thank you guys for coming in to another episode. Again, guys, don't forget to like up the video. Don't forget to subscribe. We appreciate your support in all of our episodes. And thanks again for listening. Today, now, I do have another special guest that I'm bringing on to this podcast. This is my cousin that I'm introducing to you, and I will let him give himself his own introduction, but I could say that he's my cousin. He's a great man. We have a great friendship, and we always come together on our own and have great conversations. So we decided today we're going to take our conversation to this platform, and we want to hear what you guys think. Don't forget to send us questions. We'll be happy to answer them. And let's have a discussion. When we do talk, we use a lot of critical thinking. And that's what this is about, being open to hear what other perspectives are and hearing what other people have to say. So welcome my cousin Paul to the
Hey,
podcast.
hey
Welcome.
everybody. Yeah, man, my name is, they call me Paul as my nickname, and of course, my real name is Carl. I want to say big up to everyone listening and watching from all over the world.
Yes. And we thank you for taking the time to come speak with us today. So I'm just going to throw some questions at my cousins. Like I said, these are conversations that we have all the time just to hear what we think. Paul and I were raised pretty much the same way in a strict household. We were a Christian based home, a lot of strict beliefs,
Hmm.
and we were conditioned very early. I would say that. Would you agree, Paul?
Yes, from birth.
From birth. Yes. So a lot of things that we heard, we didn't really put much thought into it. We just thought that this is what we were told and that's the way. We never questioned it. But as we got more mature, as we got older, a lot of things to us didn't make sense, and we took it to the round table and said, let's talk about it. And we had a meeting of the minds to realize that we do think the same way in most things. So
Yeah,
would you add to that, Paul?
yeah, just to give you some more context on that. I mean, I grew up, I'm before you, of course. So I grew up
Yeah.
with in your grandmother's household, actually, first. And mm, can we name the church or,
We
well,
could probably leave that out. We can say what denomination it is for sure.
apostolic?
Yeah. So Shiloh.
Shiloh Apostolic. So
Yeah.
I grew up watching grandma and everyone going to the church, right? And I learned the routine, I would say, routinely going to church and, the whole thing, filled with the Holy Ghost, speaking in tongues, baptizing, all of these things, being in spirit, tarrying for the Holy Ghost. So I learned that at an early age, maybe 5, 6 year old, I'm understanding, or not, I'm not understanding, but I got the gist of how the system worked there. But
Hmm.
I later on tapered off into another church, into Adventist, maybe around 12-year old. But from 0 to 12, it was apostolic. So I do
But even
understand.
when you went over into 12 7-day Adventists, the rules kind of were the same. Some of the rules were pretty much the same
Pretty much.
in regards to strictness
Yes.
and their
Yes.
concepts. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
And let me just give light on to what we're talking about. Specifically, it's the fact that from the time I know myself and until maybe up until 15, 20 years ago when I stopped going to the church, you were forbidden to ask certain questions. And to be honest with you, Charmin, I was scared too because they put the fear of God in you where um, you heard about being blaspheming.
Blaspheming. Yes.
That word, the word blasphemy is so scary.
Hmm.
If you blaspheme, you cannot go to heaven and you're bound to fire and to the fire of the eternal fire. I'm like, oh my God. So you can't ask no questions, even if you even if you're confused. um, you're careful to ask the question you want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Put it that way. So
Right.
if you, I remember I asked, I was careful to ask certain questions because they would rebuke you also. And rebuke mean that it's almost like a curse.
Yeah.
I rebuke you in Jesus' name. The devil in you. No, none of us want to hear about the devil in us. I mean, that's scary.
Of course. At a
Uh,
young age.
what? You're terrified.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you quickly bow down and ask forgiveness because you're saying, "Oh my God, I can't ask no. I mean, I don't want God to burn me in the fire or kill me, strike me down," as they said, God will strike you down. Because what happened is, I guess all churches internalize the stories of the Bible, right? The horrific stories of how God would strike down people in the Bible, and like Ananias
Mm-hmm.
and Sapphira was two names. I believe they told a lie one time, and um, as it relates to some money in the church that they stole, I believe, and they lied about it, and they were struck down
Mm-hmm.
apparently by God. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so
Yeah.
those stories were retold in the church as a staple for us to recognize that if you do the same thing they do, same thing will happen to you.
Yeah. Well, leading us into that, let's stay on that lane for 1 second. You said something that I think we could just talk about a little bit. The way they portray God to be, us growing up, God came across having a lot of bad characteristics, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. So they made it look like he was manipulative, he was angry, he was very reactive. So if you didn't do things his way, you'd be killed, you'd be slaughtered. He was emotionless. Uh,
Let me just add something, please.
yeah, sure.
So that scripture
Hmm.
that I was talking about is taken from Acts 5, 1 to 11.
Hmm.
So if you want to read the story, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
well,
if hmm
to to add to what you're saying though,
hmm
in simple terms, what we know, who we know as God, the Almighty, that being the Almighty God, they make it look like He was like man,
right,
just like me and you,
right.
who we're so fickle, we get upset for small things, and
Hmm.
we spite each other, you call it, malice each other, malicious intent. If you do me something, I do something back, and all those kind of things. That's what they seem. That's what God seemed like in the Bible. That He was depicted or is depicted as that kind of person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can pull out some things, like just examples
Hmm.
of some things that he has done in the Bible. For example, he flooded a whole world just to show his power. He 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 created billions of people with the intention to burn them forever, right? Um, he killed people's people's firstborn
Hmm.
son
Hmm.
just to
Make a point.
test for what?
Hmm.
He even the Job story, it was a test of loyalty.
Hmm.
Like, you know,
No, it was a okay. So I call it a game between two superpowers, like you have Trump and Putin,
right.
and we're in the middle. So let's say Canada is us, right? And you'd have Trump and Putin saying, "Hey, if you touch a hair of Canada, I'm gonna and see if they're gonna do anything." So basically, that's what that,
What happened?
that's
He
what
he
it was
basically had a conversation
with Lucifer. With
with
Lucifer.
Satan and said, "Listen, this man is loyal to me, so go ahead, do whatever you want to do with him." he'll stay loyal. But
But
I'm
there
going to
was,
wipe out his whole family and I'll just create a new one and give him.
but he said there are also perimeters. You can do everything else, but don't touch him. Like you can do everything, but don't kill him. Basically,
Yeah,
you
but
can
let's
do
take,
everything else. Yeah,
right. But let's take this back to terms like regular people today. Would you want to be associated with somebody who operates in that manner?
I think there's a word for that. Um, so we call Trump sadistic. We call him self-centered,
A
um,
narcissist?
narcissist,
Yeah,
narcissistic.
behavior.
So those words would come, would come about, and that's why I said, no, man, something is wrong here.
Something is definitely wrong. And we are now being forced to serve somebody like that.
Hmm.
And then, so we're not really hearing much about the loving God, the forgiving God. We're not getting much of that. The unconditional love. And where is that shown in the Bible? We more, it's more focused on bad characteristics. That's where, for me, I started to look at it and say, something's not right here. Right?
So the Bible says God is all-knowing, right?
Right.
All right. Um, but yet, um, and that Bible verse is there. Let me see. Let me get that. That's Psalm 130. That's one of the scriptures, anyways. There's
Hmm.
Isaiah 46:10, and there's Psalm 139, 1 to 4. God knows all thoughts and ways. So he's all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. Yet,
Omnipresent. Yep. All of
omnipresent.
it.
Yet,
Hmm.
in the creation story, the contrast there is that he created man.
Hmm.
But it seems from the depiction there of the story that he didn't know what was going to happen with man. So when man decided to start doing all manner of quote unquote sins, the Bible said it repented him. In other words, he was sorry that he made man. So it's like it's an experiment, and you say, "Oh my God, this is what's happening." Oh my, ooh, what's happening here? Oh, this was not what I had in mind.
Right. And that can't be a God
No,
who
that's
knows all things. And this is not a scientist we're talking about, where it's trial and error. God doesn't make mistakes. So there's no way that he could have made man and been like, oops, I
so.
made an error here.
On top of it, because he was sorry, he said, "I will destroy man
Hmm.
whom I've created," and I'll find
Right.
that verse for you too. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go
And guys, just keep in mind that he's giving you scriptures as references if you guys want to go ahead and look over those scriptures. So let me know when you find it, Paul, then we can delve
Genesis
in.
6:7.
Genesis 6, verse 7. You want to
Yeah.
read it?
And the Lord, okay, this is another. This is a, okay, let me see what. There's different, different versions. I don't know what version this is, but this is probably the Gateway Bible. Let me see. So the Lord said, "I will wipe from the face of the earth." I like,
That's another characteristic right there.
right, right. The human race I have created. This is even more brutal.
Wow. Just like that. The people you love, just wipe them out.
Wait, no, and with them the animals.
Oh my God. Animals.
No, wait. So it was man who was disgusting, right?
Hmm. So he took
But
the animals out with it too.
yes, with the animal and the birds
Mm.
and the creatures that move along the ground. For
Wow.
I regret that
Wow.
I have made them.
That's that's crazy to me.
So this is ridiculous here. I mean, this is
So that
Genesis
alone
6.
right there could not be the God, the loving God we're talking about.
Impossible.
Because I know you have children, I have children, Paul. There's never been a day that we've said we want to wipe them out of this world.
And we are man
And
who
we're a
is
man.
who is not as loving like God
Nowhere near as loving as God. So
and
there's never
forgiving.
been a day. They can irritate the crap out of you.
It never
But
crossed the mind that we'll wipe them out.
we'll wipe them out clean. No. So there we know there's a problem right
Wait,
there.
and their dog and their pets,
Yeah.
everything. No, I
Yeah.
mean, you're laughing, but this is when you really look, when you're growing up, you don't really look into this, and it's, 40 years later, 50, 30 years later, you say, "Boy, this is this is not, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
What's
Really?"
happening?
No, you look into it now, it sounds like a horror story.
It definitely starts like a horror story.
What
And
is this?
also, why is it that let's stay in Genesis for 1 second, in the Adam and Eve. So you made two people, you set them up to fail. Is
From the
is that
get-go.
what the intent is? Because let me ask you a question, pause, because I saw someone ask this question one time, and I was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. When God made Adam and Eve, did Adam and Eve know good and evil before they ate the apple?
No,
Okay.
according to the Bible.
According to the Bible, they did not know good and evil. So why were they punished so harshly?
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? When I tell you that out loud, does that not sound crazy?
Yes.
You gave them a choice to, if you eat of this fruit, remember, they don't know the consequences of good and evil. So how could they be judged so harshly?
So this is Genesis 3:22. The Lord said, "Behold, man has become like one of us,
Right.
knowing good and evil."
Knowing good and evil. That means whoever was there before Adam and Eve knew about good and evil.
No,
Is that what I heard correctly?
yes, they didn't know before.
They didn't know before.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So if they didn't know, that's like a baby. If you tell a baby, don't touch the stove, it's hot, right?
Mhm.
Until they touch the fire and feel the burn on the stove, they're not going to know what you're talking about,
So,
right?
but this whole thing don't make sense. This is like
It doesn't make sense.
this is mediocre type of God they're talking about. It's not a God of creation who hung those stars in the sky
Right.
in the sky.
Or it doesn't sound like a God with understanding.
No,
No,
not all knowing, of course,
not definitely not all knowing.
because here he said, "All right," and he was talking to somebody else here. He said, "The man has become like one of us." This is Genesis 3:22.
Hmm.
Knowing good and evil, he must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So again, it it's like you ever see those um in Rome they created these matches where people fight gladiators.
Right.
So when you fight in the ring, you're limited to the prize you get. You're not gonna be free because you're slaves. So in other words, you're there for their entertainment in the arena. And when you're finished, they might give you some wine or something to drink, or maybe give you a woman, but they are parameters. So in here again, it says, let us, in other words, stop him from taking from the tree of life.
Hmm.
Lest he eat and live forever. So he has limitations. You're limiting him. So you put him out there, put the tree of life, the tree of life was there, like a temptation. That was in the garden, tree of life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when he said the man has become wise, so don't let him touch the tree of life and maybe you'll eat and live forever. Get the powers. So what is this? Some kind of experiment with with parameters. Okay, don't let him reach the end. Kill him before he
Hmm.
reach the end, or stop him before he reach the end, and
Right.
kick him out of the Garden of Eden. Because eventually they were kicked out. Because you put them there, you said don't eat from this fruit, this tree. You put the tree in the middle, don't eat from the tree. And of course they're gonna eat from it because if you tell a child don't touch the TV,
That's exactly what they're going to do, is touch it. They want to know why you're saying don't touch it.
they're
It's
intrigued now. They're
they're
intrigued by it now.
intrigued. That's right.
And that's how the human brain generally works.
It's human nature. You tell somebody no, no, no all the time, You want to test the waters and say,
Yeah.
let me
Why?
see why. Yeah, you start to rebel. So that makes sense to me. I see Adam's reaction normal.
So they were cursed.
Cursed, Paul. Drove out of their home.
No, not only that, they were cursed again.
Mm-hmm.
Adam was cursed to till the soil all the days of his life and sweat. The woman
Right.
was cursed in childbirth.
Childbirth. For eating an apple, Paul? Jeez, Louise. People run traffic lights and don't go to jail here. There's no death penalty here. Why is it so extreme?
Uh,
Why so extreme from something that is so normal behavior? Doesn't seem normal to me. That reaction to that action, right?
mhm.
So if we stay in Genesis a bit more, just another thing I'll throw at you because I just want to dwell on Adam and Eve for a second. So after an Adam and Eve, their life had begun now. They had 3 sons, right?
Yeah.
So where do we come from? Just
Okay.
critical thinking.
So
3 sons.
who had 3 sons?
Um, Adam and
Adam.
Eve. Right.
All right.
Adam and Eve produced 3 sons.
Um.
So we have a whole generation of people that came forth. How did we come forth?
So Adam and Eve, the first 2 sons they had was Cain and Abel,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Oh, Cain killed Abel. You're correct. So the Bible does not go into details as to how what happened there, but Cain killed Abel, and then Seth was replaced later
Seth
on.
was replaced. So that's 3 boys, right?
Yeah.
So remember, that's the thing about the Bible. It's very vague. It doesn't tell you how people met because you have to have a woman involved to keep reproducing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So just like how you and I always used to say, the Bible almost comes like a movie that it focuses on the main characters,
Hmm. Yeah.
and then you have
The cast.
that's your cast members, but it really doesn't give the full story. And then
So
everybody else in the Bible are just extras.
the extras are not mentioned.
They're not mentioned. But in the Bible, it should be mentioned because it would bring more context so things could make sense.
Um. So why was this written this way?
That's a good question. Why put it that way? You had 3 sons, okay. That's to prove, this is just me saying, that's could never be the beginning of creation. That could not be the starting point of creation.
I mean, the
Adam and
two.
Eve,
Why
right?
you say why you why
There
you say
has to
that?
be a continuation story. There
Why
has to
you
be.
why you say that?
Well, if Adam and Eve had three boys, right?
Hmm.
Where's the rest of where's your rest of your community? Where's everybody else? Where's all people that you're interacting with? Because you had to reproduce. So
So
that means there has to be more people involved, which
all right.
the Bible does not mention at all.
So incest. What happens
Even if you
when
had
no wait
incest, who was the
wait
incest with?
no. What happens when incest occur?
Yeah,
It,
but if you're
when
starting with 2 people, Adam and Eve, if you're starting with 2, right?
Mhm.
It would have that part even would have made more sense to me if we said Adam and Eve had 2 sons and a daughter.
Yeah, but if
Right? We're not saying that. We're saying Adam and Eve had 3 sons. So
they
even if,
they
yeah,
they had daughters,
does
but
it
they
mention daughters in the Bible?
no they had daughters. That they the Bible is as okay. I want to use the word sexist, but It is. Man wrote the Bible specifically for man. Man is the leader, so they didn't mention women much. But they are daughters because
But
later on you will see that they had son and daughters. They just don't mention women
they
because
don't mention daughters. So are
women are
you
not.
saying that the daughters slept with their brothers
Yes.
and reproduced?
Hmm.
Oh,
Incest.
okay. Okay.
Now, this is a can of worm.
This is definitely a can of worms.
All right. Is incest wrong?
Well, if how can incest be wrong if God, if this is the plan for mankind, God started it. He knew it was going to be this way.
It's wrong.
Right. But
It's
so
more.
are you saying
It's
that
even.
God did not know what he was doing?
Wait. This, let me open the can of worm now. Incest is wrong. I spoke to some young Christians and they said it was allowed then. So, wait. And the Bible said God hasn't changed, never changed.
Right.
No, when people come to me with this nonsense, I look at them, I say, what are you talking about? You're talking to me here. I'm not an idiot. So you're saying God allowed incest then
But he will,
because,
and he won't allow it now?
yeah,
No.
so why did he allow it then? Because he never had any different, not no other means to replenish the earth, you're saying? God is limited.
Exactly.
So when you come to me with that kind of bull crap, I have to look at you and say, are you serious? Yeah, but
Yeah.
incest is wrong. And by the way, when we genetically, if you commit incest,
Hmm.
you'll find people become deformed.
Deformed. They have Down syndrome. They have many issues that can come out of that.
Deaf, dumb, all kind of something happen.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
just can't work.
Yeah.
In other words, you couldn't raise a community from that. It's
Hmm.
impossible. It's impossible. They would have too many deformities and people would die and all kind of disease. It just
Well,
can't
this is
work.
right. And this is why I believe that we are on the right path when we're talking about the Garden of Eden. I do believe there was a whole world that existed outside of that, because I do believe there was other people that mix with Adam and Eve as well. I think it's just not talked about, because I don't believe Adam and Eve was the beginning of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I do believe woman came on, and me personally, I don't believe um Adam's sons were sleeping with their sisters. That I don't believe. That's just my personal belief. I do believe that there was other, groups of people that they had option. They had options to sleep with other people that are just not mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, because if we want to be real, Paul, if we're saying at the beginning of creation, incest was where it all started, then coming down the lineage, Paul, it wouldn't work, right? To create so many generations.
So,
That's just my opinion with that.
all right.
Yeah.
So this is where these are questions that I had
Hmm.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I decided to one morning I woke up and I decided to research the genesis of or the beginning. Where did all these things come from? Is the
Hmm.
Bible the first book? Then I realized it's not the first book. The stories were taken from other books. The Sumerians is one.
Hmm.
Um, uh, there were many books from even, I think Sumerian is one of the first civilization that was known to mankind.
Hmm.
And from them, there were Greek mythology. So all of these came before Bible time I'm talking about.
Before Bible time.
Yeah, before the
So,
Bible was created.
can I ask you something? Have you ever heard of Epic of Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh. Yeah.
So you've heard of that.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys, just so we can give you some context, because Paul already knows about it, the Epic of Gilgamesh is a story that was told even before the
The
Bible.
Bible. Yeah.
And it literally is the exact same story as Noah, the flood, Noah's Ark.
Hmm.
It's the same story with different characters, right,
Different
Paul?
characters. Different characters.
Different characters, but it's literally the same. So, both epic features a great flood sent by God to destroy humanity with a righteous man,
Hmm.
right? And then Noah in Genesis was for the Bible, and then it was I think it's New Mashish Tim in Gilgamesh. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but
I don't remember that name, but
that's who it was in that story.
yeah.
The similarities are both stories basically involve building a vessel, releasing birds to find land, and landing on a mountain and offering sacrifices afterward.
So
Yeah.
from what I read from this Sumerian tablet,
Hmm.
those were not literal animals. They were DNA, which makes more sense. I mean, Shaman, and people, I mean, are we idiots or what?
Hmm.
What vessel can fit all animals? And
It's not possible.
where would you find all animals on Earth? They're not all in the same place.
They're not possible.
How could who would put all these? Okay, okay.
And let's keep in mind, a
Wait,
wild animal then,
no,
sorry, a
no,
wild
no.
animal now is still a wild animal then.
Just wait a minute.
Yeah.
There were 8 people on board. 8.
Eight. How do you control?
Shaman, you never grew up in Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica. You know how hard it is to manage or shepherd um, maybe 8 sheep or 8 goats.
Alone?
Now, listen, there were pairs of them. Some of them 7 pairs. Are you
Right.
kidding me? Of every living thing? Like, really?
How could you shepherd all of those on
No.
a big ark?
Where would you put them?
Where would you put them? How would you feed them?
When they poo, when they doo doo,
Right?
feed. What would you feed them? Come on, guys. This is
That's logics.
so. That story
And
was an.
how do you mix so many you mix wild animals with I mean, it just wouldn't work, Paul. You'd have wild animals eating, carnivores going after
You have to feed them,
but they would go after each other to eat. It's
and
meat.
the strongest would survive.
The strongest would survive.
Okay. Okay. So I debunked that story because it doesn't make sense. And then so the original story from the Sumerian tablets that were found was that there were DNA that they collected samples
Mm-hmm.
to survive the flood,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that they would use it's a lab work they put together, build a lab, and they you know started their own thing from there. You're not gonna bring animals on an ark. I don't care how
Mm-mm.
big the ark is. You can't bring all the animals on the ark. You
You
just
can't.
can't.
It's impossible. And
Right?
even if we bring in, we can draw reference to the scripture where it actually gives the measurements. I think it's, what did we say? It was equivalent to about 3 football fields, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Even that, Paul, is not enough space to hold two of every kind
There each
species.
some yeah some animals they're species, right?
That's
Camels.
right.
Not
That's
only
right.
one type of camel. There's different types,
That's right.
species, and you're bringing. All right. So for food, get this part now. For food, I think they put 7 pairs of animals because they had some for food. So some species like tigers, you have maybe 5, 6 species of tiger. You know that, or more.
Yeah,
I could Google it. It's a lot. It just doesn't. It just can't work.
it can work, Paul.
There's just
And
so much
and
things to think about.
it just wouldn't work. There
All
would
these
be
animals,
total, it would be a bloodbath on the ark.
birds, because the birds could not survive
Serve exactly.
for the 9 months that you're underwater without landing somewhere. And there was nothing to land on. There was no food. So they had to be in the ark.
And
So if
let's keep
they're,
in mind, animals still have nature.
But
9 months, Paul?
you know how many
So,
different species of birds there are, Shaman?
oh my God.
Huh? Let's talk
Exactly.
about birds. You know how much species of birds there are? Flying creatures,
So many.
falcons, eagle.
Eagles,
How many different type of
blue
eagle and
jay,
falcons? You know how many birds? Where
robin.
would they go?
Where would they go? In a closed
Oh, you're kidding me,
space?
man. Come on,
Come
stop it.
on. It's impossible, Paul.
You know, when you're wearing a veil over your eyes, you don't ask these questions, I guess.
No.
Especially if you're scared. It took me a while to get out of that and start thinking outside the box. And then I realized, oh, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, back then we were very scared and gullible. But as you get older, I mean the truth stands by itself. And you know, critical thinking I think is very important.
Very
You
important.
have to see things just the way it is.
Hmm.
I don't need you to tell us, a lot of you guys don't have to agree with what we're saying. But just think about it. Just think about it. you know? We're not trying to persuade anybody to think like how we think, but if you really think about what we're saying, you'll realize, maybe they're onto something.
So the miracle there was that the whole thing was that God made miracle to make them fit in the ark, and He made miracle to feed them and all that. That's like just saying, so that would brush everything off as to a miracle, and then you have no questions after that because God did that. And if God
Yeah.
can do all of that, then I go back and I ask the question, then why would you create man like it's a mistake and then say, oh my, and then say, oh, I make a mistake here. I'm gonna wipe man off the face of the earth. Then after that, Shaman, I don't want to go back to it, but just to reference,
Hmm.
he said, quote unquote, God said, it repented him that he had destroyed man with the flood. In
Hmm.
other words, he's sorry because he looked and he didn't like what he saw. The bodies
Yes.
that he saw, too many bodies. So he said, next time I'll use fire
Let's use fire next
to
time, Paul.
consume everything so I don't have to see any dead bodies.
Wow. This is the God,
This is the God that they want you to serve
the
in the Bible.
loving God that we ought to serve. Wow.
By the way, that's not the God I know.
No,
Okay.
definitely not. Yeah. And I do not want to be, let's just talk about people say they have a relationship with God. I don't want a relationship with a God where I'm in constant fear, constant anxiety. You cause me constantly to be anxious. I
Uh,
can't be I can't have a relationship with a God like that. No,
you're only serving him because you're scared.
I'm literally scared. That's why I'm in this relationship.
Yeah, you're
No,
scared.
no, and it shouldn't be that way. And let's be honest. Let's take away the threat of hell and the fantasy of
Fantasy.
heaven.
Hmm.
Does religion still exist, Paul?
And people say they wanna go up there with him. You're gonna go
Because
up there. God is God. You can't go where God is because
exactly.
you're not from there. If God made you, your name is not equal.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna be on maybe different worlds, different planets. God governs everything. You're not gonna be with Him. You're just man. How are you gonna be with the Creator who is superior to you?
Hmm.
Today I was thinking about it. You're gonna be up there with Him. With Him where?
This is another thing that made me look at things a different way. Um, I don't know if you realize this. I'm sure you do. But do you realize that religion is based off of your demographic location?
Yes,
So, yeah. So if you were born because you're born in you were born in Jamaica, most
in the
likely you're going to be a Christian.
in the Western Hemisphere. Yes,
That's right. If we were born in Saudi Arabia, or if we were born,
Muslim.
we would have been Muslim. If
If
we
you're
were
born in
born in China, We would have been
in
a Buddhist.
in East Asia, Europe, yeah, Buddhist
Yeah.
or Hindu.
Hindu or yeah. So it's really based off of your demographic location. So that means we really were conditioned. Every single person, you weren't given a choice of what religion you become. It's based off who your parents are and where their location is.
Mhm.
That's what, so how could that be then a true religion to follow? How could that be based off of free will? That's not free will, Paul.
But
Because we didn't have a choice to choose
no,
if we wanted to be a Christian, if we wanted to be what we wanted to be. It was based off what our parents told us we were going to be.
and if I was born um, as a Muslim, because in those countries, like how we choose Christianity, you're born into into Islam. You're born into
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not walking the way, walking the walk, you're in those countries. You're born into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why would Christians condemn these people?
Right.
Who made you the ruler of the world
Right.
to make decisions and say, do it this way or you're evil? You know what? All right. You ever hear about the crusade?
No.
The word
What's that?
crusade.
Mm-hmm.
So in the crusade is an act. It came around maybe 600 AD. It was a slaughter between of the Muslims by the Christians. They carry out a crusade to kill off the because remember it was either the Christians' way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
So they would send out armies to kill anybody who would believe anything else other than Christian.
Mm-hmm.
This was from Roman times. So you're not only forced, you're killed if you didn't. Remember they had to run. A lot of things happen in the Jabe. They had to run and hide in caves. People who dare to challenge Christianity and say they were Muslims or anything else. And many slaughters happened of Christians and Muslims
Right.
years ago. Not only so the animosity between the Islam and the Muslim is not the Christians and the Muslims. It's not just now. It's from like 600 AD. They used to carry out crusades to slaughter people who dare to go against Christ.
To go against Christ. Yeah. So so the free will is where?
No, there's no free will there. And
There's no
who,
free will because if a choice under the threat of punishment, that's not free choice.
not only a threat, it was carried out
Right.
and
So
murder
it
people with the
costs
sword.
your life.
Yes, people were
Yeah.
beheaded.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, sure, I mean, I tell you,
It's
boy.
a lot. It's a lot. And I think people just need to think about, you know, um, stop taking things so personally. Do your own research. Don't take a stance against what others believe because we are given the gift to think. God gave us the mindset to ask. We are capable to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with hearing other people's point of view. um it's about having a conversation. It's about having an open discussion because maybe if we don't talk about it, if you some things you have to say out loud, Paul,
Mm,
for you for it to resonate, right? And sometimes people don't understand a lot of what's going on in this way. How does what is that Roman? How do they call that, Paul? Roman. The way the
Empire.
Bible was written is in
Oh,
what is
oh,
it
oh.
called? Roman.
Roman reign.
Yeah,
AD. Yeah, it was.
yeah. So it was written, but that is not even the latest version. The Bible has been altered so many times.
Oh, yeah, many
So
versions.
many versions of the Bible. So, you know, guys, this discussion, I think, um, we're going to continue this discussion. Definitely. Right, Paul? Did you
Hmm.
enjoy this?
Yes, man.
Yes.
Healthy,
We're,
healthy
it,
discussions. Yeah.
it's healthy discussion. We are definitely going to be adding more people each week. to the podcast to get other points of view. We want to hear your questions, guys. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. And we appreciate for you listening. Pause. Anything you want to say
You
before we?
know, just just continue to remain spiritual. We're a
Mm-hmm.
spirit, and the creator of the universe, we're connected to him already. We don't need a third party. We just
Mm,
need to be conscious of that we're connected to him. So within your own mind, your own spirit, just connect. Just connect, and things will be revealed to you. Because
in
I
time.
believe, yeah, man, because I believe that, as we become enlightened, we'll be more free.
That's very true. And I also believe having these discussions is a part of us searching for answers.
Yes.
Yes. So we don't have the answers. Paul's not more right than anybody else.
No,
I'm not more right than anybody else. We're just
absolutely.
having
Yeah.
a conversation. We're trying to get to understand and open up our point, get everyone to think about other points of views that we've never been able to talk about before
Right.
because we've been conditioned to believe things that it should be done this way. And if you think another way, you're wrong. And now
Yeah.
we're at the age where we understand that we're not wrong
No? Yeah.
to think this way. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Paul, thank you so much for coming as my guest today. I
Thank,
appreciate you.
thank you for having me.
And yes, definitely. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Like I said, we're going to continue this conversation. And we're going to talk about more things. All
All
right.
right.
See you guys in the next episode. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.